afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Art with Miss Myra. I apologize today. I had a little bit of technical difficulties earlier today, so I wasn't able to come at to you at my regular time, but I got those all fixed, and so now we are good and ready to go. So today is Tuesday, April 21st, and what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing painted rocks, but we're going to be using oil. I keep saying oil, it's alcohol inks, okay? And I'm going to actually show you guys how to make the alcohol inks, because I realize that probably most of you out there and stuff do not have alcohol inks, but alcohol ink is a really fun medium that you guys can use to do any kind of painting with, okay? So it's just like our watercolors and stuff, and our oil-based paints and our acrylic paints and everything and stuff. These alcohol inks are just so fun and easy to use, and I think that you guys would really enjoy making some of them at home, because like I said, I realize that most people don't have them and they're kind of expensive. Even for people who do a lot of art, like I do, the really good sets are like $45-$50, and I'm very frugal with my art supplies, and so I have actually done this for the last number of years, and it's so easy just to go ahead and make them on your own. So before we start getting into our painted rocks, I'm going to walk you through the process on how to make your own alcohol inks, okay? And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get markers. And you should use permanent markers for this, okay? The Crayola washable ones, they just don't work. So you're going to want to use permanent markers with this. And what I did is, instead of using the Sharpie markers, which can be kind of expensive when you go out and buy them as a set, I went over, here in North Dakota, we're still able to go and kind of do essential shopping. And so I thought that this was an essential thing that I have this, so I could show you guys how to do this today. So what I did is I went over to, the local Dollar General, and they had a pack of permanent markers, which was $2.50. So for relatively inexpensive, supplies, you guys can make an entire set of these alcohol inks, and then you can use them for not only this project, but for lots of projects, okay? So to make your alcohol inks, what you're going to need is you're going to need a set of permanent markers. You're going to need alcohol, just rubbing alcohol. And a lot of the tutorials out there say that you have to use 90% rubbing alcohol. But you can use the 70%, and most people have 70% in their cupboards, in their medical supply stuff, and so you can use the 70%. If you want to get the 90%, what you have to do is you have to go to a pharmacy and you have to ask for it, because they keep it behind the counter, okay? And I don't know why, but they do. And I wasn't willing to go to the next neighboring town and get 90%. So I use 70%, and you know what? It works just fine, okay? So you can, when you have your permanent markers, get your rubbing alcohol out of the cupboard, and then you just need little jars. And all you do is you take a scissor. This is all I did. I just took a scissor and I cut off the very tip, the end, not the end, that has the cap, but the very bottom of this. And then I used a needle nose plier, and I pulled out the ink pad out of this, okay? And then to fit it in my little jars, because I don't have babies at my house, but a couple years ago I had somebody save me some baby jars. They had a couple of babies at their house, and they saved me some baby food jars, which really come in handy for a lot of different things. So, and you just go ahead, after you get the ink pad removed from your marker, you're going to go ahead, you're going to put it into a glass jar. Don't put it into plastic, okay? Put it into a little glass jar. And these little baby food jars just work out just perfect for this, okay? And you have to cut it in half because you want to make sure that the entire ink pad is fully submerged, and you're going to put alcohol into your little jar, and then you're going to drop the ink pad in there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to let this sit for 24 hours, okay? So you want it to sit, you want all of that alcohol to get all of the ink, soak in and get all of the ink out of your little ink pad. So all I did to make these is I just put my rubbing alcohol into my jar. I cut my markers apart, pulled the ink pad out, put them in here, cut it in half, and then I put it on the windowsill and I let it sit. And you're gonna wanna let it sit for at least 24 hours before you use them, okay? Because you want the alcohol to fully get all of that ink out of your ink pad, of your marker, and then you have alcohol ink to use, okay? It is just awesome. And I would much rather spend, a couple of bucks on permanent markers and, alcohol that I already have in my cupboard. I'd rather do that and make my own alcohol inks, and then I can make, any color. I made a set of 8. So I've got all kinds of different colors. And then I use essential oils. And so in order to make application on my project a little bit easier, what I did is I have all of these little essential oil bottles that have a dropper in the top, all of the essential oil bottles, that's how they're dispersed. They have a little dropper in the top. Well, you know what? If you take a butter knife, you can pop this little dropper off after the bottle is empty, and you can rinse it out and then use it for things like alcohol ink. Okay, and that's what I did. So those are things that I had on hand. I realized that not everybody has those on hand. So if you don't have something like that on hand, it's okay. You can use a straw. You can hold your, put your straw into your alcohol ink, hold your, index finger down on it, get a section and get some out, and then use that for application. You can do that too. But you know what? I have found that these little essential oil bottles are just so handy, and when it comes to the application of alcohol inks. So if you have some of those, or if you have access to some of those, ask your mom, ask your grandma. And if they don't have some of those, maybe they know somebody that has some of those. And just kind of like the baby food jars, guys. I don't have babies at my house, but I knew somebody that had a baby, and that she saved the jars for me and stuff several years ago. So that worked out just really perfect. But let's get on to our rock painting project. And using these alcohol inks. And like I said, I hope that you guys all make a set of alcohol inks, because you can use them not only for this project, but for lots of other projects that we can do. So, but for the painted rocks, we are going to need, you're going to need your own set of alcohol inks, or make your own set, okay? You're going to need, you're going to need plain alcohol too. And for my plain alcohol, I like to put it in a spray bottle. So I had a old spray bottle here and stuff that had, I don't know, hair gel or something in it, spray gel. And I just, when that was empty, I saved it. And now I've got a really nice application, bottle. You don't have to buy things for that, okay? But you're gonna need a paintbrush, and we're gonna need rocks. We're gonna need rocks. And you're going to need to paint your rocks the night before you do your project. You're going to need to paint your rocks with white acrylic paint, okay? And that is because our alcohol inks, when we put them in, we want them to not go into something that is porous, okay? We want those colors to be a little bit more to stand out a little bit more and stuff. And so we're just gonna cover our whole entire surface. We're gonna paint our whole rock and make it so it's not so porous. And we're gonna do that with white acrylic paint, okay? So, but now I'm all ready to start. I'm gonna show you guys how to do this, and I can't wait for you guys to see this technique, okay? So I'm going to move my my phone down here a little bit so you can see my workspace. And you can see I've already prepped my rocks. I painted them and let them thoroughly dry. And so it's best to do this, you know, the night before. And then I've got all of my, I made 8 different colors of the alcohol inks. And I've got them all lined up. You know, like I said, for ease of application, I don't want to, you know, try to be dipping out of my baby food jars. So I just put them in essential oil bottles that were thoroughly cleaned out and dried. And so that makes the ease of application very, very easily, but you can also do that with a straw, guys, okay? So let's get started. So the most important thing when you are working with alcohol ink is you want to always do our lightest color first, okay? So you always want to start with your lightest color first and then build on top of that, okay? So I have a pink color here and it is all loaded up and ready to go. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop a couple of my pink. Very important to cover your surface with this because it does get messy, okay? So I'm just going to drop a couple of my pink color on that. And then I have, oh, this is actually the light blue. And this creates just a really fun kind of almost tie-dyed effect, okay? Okay, let's see. So, and we can just do this however we'd like. But I want to just cover up my whole entire rock. So I'm going to kind of decide how many colors do I want to use here. I want to use probably 4 colors per rock. And you can just see the colors are just kind of running together. And oh my goodness, it looks so pretty. Alcohol ink is really important and stuff that you work fairly fast because it dries fairly fast. And so you know, we're gonna wanna move pretty quickly and stuff when we're doing this. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this is just my plain alcohol, my plain rubbing alcohol that I put into my spray bottle, and I'm just gonna wanna kind of give this a little squirt and see, look at the cool effects that we get. Now it kind of does almost like a crackling effect on this. And I hope you guys can see this and stuff. It's just a really neat, neat effect that you get when you spray the clear, you know, the regular, just the rubbing alcohol and stuff on something that you've added your inks to, okay? So now for this one, I'm gonna do kind of, and you know, I would let this dry thoroughly. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this dry thoroughly, and then I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna do the same kind of colorations and stuff on this other side. Here's my really pretty royal blue. And if you want to move the paint around, move the ink around, you know, you can use your paintbrush and you kind of can get it in there. Like I said, you've got to work pretty quickly and stuff with this. And you can kind of move the colors around a little bit. So